Hey everyone, and welcome to this collaboration episode between Unfiltered with Sid and Victor Lee. In this episode, we both wanted to sit down and talk through a few ideas we've been thinking about from our own perspectives. This isn't really an interview, but a conversation on art, technology, and ambition, and more importantly, what we're losing, what's changing, and how our generation should protect them. Starting with art, do you think it is something losing its importance or just changing?
Yeah, so that is something that we need to think about now in this day and age. And I obviously have my own opinions about this and strong opinions too, because I consider myself an artist. I used to write music a couple years back. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, like you've been saying, I definitely think that these more old forms of art, like painting and classical music, have sort of been losing their impact in society. And what a loss that is.
I get what you're saying. Stuff like classical music and paintings, they're becoming less and less mainstream. But I don't think as a whole art is changing. I just think that the form of art is changing, right? As classical music and Baroque started to fade away, new genres of music like jazz and modern started to come up. So things like paintings are being replaced with film, let's if we can take that as an example. So I think the form is changing overall.
Yeah, and maybe I have framed that a little bit wrong. It's not to say that not to say that art or artists are losing creativity, but it's the general public. I feel like when you listen to a song nowadays, you don't listen to it and go, wow, that's a really great tune. The artist must be really creative. You don't really appreciate the creativity that goes into there anymore. And that really says a lot about not, the society and how we appreciate art less. And that also means that we appreciate creativity less, right? It's not to say that these artists are losing their creative value in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, like you said, the form is just changing.
Yeah, and art is one of the few things that actually makes us feel something real, right? If you were to read facts or statistics, it wouldn't hit you as hard until you truly experience it through story, right? And that's why stuff like film and literature are just so powerful because they let you step into someone else's perspective, and that feeling can't really be replicated in any other form.
Yeah, definitely. And now that you bring up that point, film and literature, when they're really well crafted, right? It really is just art. It's the author's piece of work. And it's a great piece of work when you can relate with the characters, right? We talk about character arcs so much. And the reason why they're so compelling, really good character arcs, is because they usually go from someplace low to someplace high, or they make you follow this really inspiring journey that everybody can relate to or everybody aspires to see in themselves, right? We all want to, sort of be viewed as an underdog and then eventually rise to something that we consider successful, right? That's what it is. Art is communication. It can be something that's very personal. Art is how artists sometimes convey their ideas or a catalyst to express themselves.
Yeah, and when you brought up film and cinema, right? Someone like Martin Scorsese says that, hey, Marvel isn't really cinema, right? And we're seeing a more of a blockbuster sort of tone we're living in an era with movies mainly consisting of franchises and reboots and nostalgia cash grabs. But we're still seeing stuff like original movies break through and people still want meaningful content. They still want something that can evoke emotions inside of them, right? They don't just want to see something that's really beautiful and is made from CGI. They don't just want eye candy. They want something that they can experience and it gives them something that's far deeper than we can truly understand. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I definitely do. And it's good that people are now seeking out these more authentic forms of, you could say, connection or creativity that comes with art. Like I said, film and literature at their core, they really are just art. And art at its core is a form of expression, right? As humans, as conscious creatures, we do seek out these authentic experiences. And I think that empathy also is a big part of art. right? You may look at a painting and say, oh, wow, the artist probably was going through something real rough at that time, right? Art is a good way for us to practice empathy, and empathy is something that's lacking so much in this world that we live in currently, and art can be a good way to exercise that. So, if art and creativity is so important to understand, we've talked about this quite a bit now. Why do you think that as a society, especially young people, have been losing interest in it?
I don't think we're really losing art. I just think we're at a point where what people choose to engage with is just changing, right? I think social media and technology definitely plays into that, right? Not many of us are able to watch maybe a 2.5 hour long movie without checking our phones. So I think that's definitely playing a big role in how we interact with art in our modern day world.
Yeah. And we've talked about this in our English class discussions, the Harkness discussions. The main topic of those discussions was actually technology, and it's good that we bring this up in our discussion because I saw so many kids just come out and reflect on the fact that, I'm spending so much time on my phone. I shouldn't be doing it, but I just can't stop. And it's almost like we have this over reliance on technology now. We may open our phones to go check out what's going on, maybe go check the news, and then all of a sudden we're on social media or we're on the ChatGPT asking for help on homework assignments. And that isn't something that's good, right? We always talk about the fact that, oh, we probably shouldn't trust these technologies, but we do, and I think we do too much. We've developed an over reliance. It's almost like another body part that we have now.
Right. And stuff like social media, it takes away so much time from our lives, right? It's such a huge distraction. And tech is just on an exponential rise. It just keeps on climbing, right? Which sounds like a good thing on paper. When you think about that, there are so many negative consequences that come with this, right? Increased anxiety, depression, poor sleep quality, a bunch of disorders. There's so many poor effects that come from technology being more and more prevalent in our lives.
Yeah, and you go into a lot about how, like, yeah, it affects sleep, mental disorders, a lot of that stuff. And yeah, that's completely true. And that's what a lot of people are experiencing as well, I think, a lot of young people. And another thing is that these technologies and social media, they cut us off from society in a way that nothing else does. Right. And now we're seeing so many young people scroll on their phones instead of going out to hang out with their friends, right? And we're losing that social connection piece, which is so important in the early years, in adolescence, right? To help our brains develop the way they should be developing. And yeah, it's just like we don't know how to interact with other people anymore, right? Small pauses in conversations feel awkward, right? We aren't comfortable with silence anymore. We're used to this threshold of just complete stimulation, right? And that can't be good.
And if you look at it, that was great insight. And if you look at it, the content we consume it's so constant, it's fast paced, it's endless, right? If you're scrolling, you'll never get to that last video or reel ever, right? And you're constantly switching from one thing to another. And over time, that's got to have some sort of effect on how you think, right? I myself, I've noticed that when I try to lock in, when I try to focus in on something, do an assignment, there's always an urge to sort of grab my phone and check if, oh, someone said something to me, someone texted something to me, if there's anything funny to see on Instagram. So I think this is also becoming sort of subconscious to me. I just pick up my phone. I don't even think about it. I just do it.
Yeah, and there are actually studies to back that up, those things that you're experiencing. I experienced them too. It's becoming harder and far harder to focus because of our decreasing attention spans. Now, there was a study recently that showed that our attention span has gone from 2 minutes to 40 seconds. Now, that's more than a 50% cut. And I mean, it just goes to show how much these phones are affecting us and our brains, right? Our ability to focus. And yeah, it does have several unintended consequences, I think. And we haven't really talked about AI. So we all know AI is this thing. I feel like so many people are afraid of it, but there's massive opportunities in it as well. But there are so many young people who are actually chatting with AI like it's their girlfriend or their friend. And once again, this cuts them off from society even more. Can you agree with that?
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that, right? AI just takes away any effort, any hard work that we could have put into accomplishing a task and just does it for us, right? And we don't have to use our brains. Our cognitive capabilities definitely worsen because of this, right? We don't think critically. AI is just replacing us for this, right? There's also that hysteria over AI taking our jobs in the near future, right? And to think about it, we are the first generation growing up fully immersed in this AI ecosystem, in this digital ecosystem. So we don't truly know what the long-term effects to this are.
Yeah, and I feel like so many people are now are just scared. Like they know that what like social media is doing to them is bad, but they're just like, man, I can't stop. And I really feel that too, as a young person. I'm sure you feel it too. And it's just like it's just we're brought into this society where social media is just so prevalent, and we just have to be on our phones, or then we might miss something, right? Is there any way to get out of this? And yeah, it is something that's very difficult to ask yourself. And I don't think at the moment, unless these big companies decide to do something about it, yeah, I don't think this is something that we can do by ourselves, right? We can inhibit this large amount of effort to just not go on our phones, but once again, we might miss like a text from our friend or an important update from our teacher.
So
So,
yeah, go ahead.
oh no, you can go ahead.
So you kind of answer this already in what you just said right now, but do you think this is controllable, or is it just inevitable for the human race that not just for us as teenagers, but us as a complete society? Can we control what's going on from AI, our overdependence on AI, and how we're being negatively impacted from this false social interaction from social media? Can this be controllable, or is it just inevitable?
Um, it's definitely very difficult to control. And I mean, you ask anybody out there, I'm not sure that they'd have a clear answer for you. It's difficult for sure. Right now, it looks inevitable, right? The social media companies aren't backing away. They may have these teen restrictions, but they are really aren't restrictions at all, right? You might have screen time restrictions, but those can be bypassed easily. And I think that for the most part, it's for kids, anyway, for teens, for young people, it's up to their parents to sort of set limitations. And I feel like parents are, I hate to say it, but they're less and less involved in their children's lives, especially as they get older. Like they feel like as soon as they push them past 10 years old, they can just go off on their own, but it's not true. Teens need just as much, if not more, supervision than you could say young children. So I feel like we talked about the fact that in many aspects, all of these technologies have distracted us from focusing on what's most important, like working hard or authentic connections. But I feel like they've caused too many of us to become less ambitious as well. They've sort of directed our attention away from achieving our goals instead of towards them.
Right. I truly agree with that, right? With the advent of social media and stuff, it's easier to get distracted and to not be focused. And people nowadays, too, they have mixed feelings on ambition, right? Ambitious people seem cold and distant, but do you think that's just a side effect of being ambitious, or is that just a trait that ambitious people have?
I don't think that it's a trait that ambitious people inherently have, but like you said, like it's probably a side effect of them trying to be ambitious because when you're ambitious towards something, naturally um, you have to save more time or use more time to achieve what you're trying to achieve. Like, for example, if you're trying to found a company, that's very ambitious, right? And you'd have to be a very ambitious person to get that done. You probably have to spend less time hanging out with your friends or doing the things that you like and spend more time working towards that company. So, yeah, I think that it's a trait that they just, it's not a trait that they have as a human being, but it's a trait that they have gained uh, throughout the process of being ambitious.
Right. And another thing that I really see people our age do is that they don't just want to be successful or they don't just want to be ambitious. They want to be seen as successful, right? They want to be seen as someone who's achieved so much. So, for me at least, I think the difference from wanting to be successful and wanting to be seen successful is that ambition feels more meaningful when it's tied to something that's internal, that's something that comes inside of you, from inside of you, and it's wanting to improve and build yourself and build something that you're trying to create.
Yeah, definitely. So I completely agree with what you're saying about the fact that so many kids now, or so many young people, are just trying to be successful because they want to be viewed as successful. And that isn't the type of ambition that you want to have. Like, I feel like what you have decided for yourself right now is excellent, right? You want to be ambitious for yourself, not for others, to achieve what you truly want and to help other people out, not to be performative, right? As we would say. Um, and this kind of ambition that you have is much more powerful than more performative ambition because you truly believe that this is what you want. So you're going to work towards it, right? Even if there's a roadblock in the way, even if something goes wrong, you're going to keep on that path and you're going to tell yourself that what I'm doing is meaningful. Whereas somebody who's just being ambitious for the glory of it or to be recognized as successful, yeah, they might fall short of their goals.
And another thing is that people think that being ambitious and having ambition is optional, but I don't really see it that way. And if I elaborate, to me, ambition is the standard you hold yourself to. It's not letting others be better than you. It's not about that, but it's not letting yourself fall below the threshold that you should hold yourself to, right? You should know what you're capable of, what the drive inside of you. You should know how you can maximize your efforts and your potential. And I think ambition is great. You need to have ambition in order to succeed or to find any sort of reward in life. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I love to see ambitious people. I know that a lot of people nowadays, like you said, they have mixed opinions about ambitious people. Sometimes they can feel cold or distant, and some people have really taken a disliking to ambitious people. And I think that's because they don't see those qualities inside of themselves. They know that being ambitious and trying to achieve their own goals is something that they want to see, right? They want to see in themselves, but they don't see it. And I'll tell you why. It's because of the fact that maybe they're on social media all the time, right? Tying it back to art, maybe they have, I don't know, they maybe haven't realized how important art and creativity is in this world. They haven't gone out to seek authentic experiences. So maybe that was the whole point of this discussion, right? Right now, in this ever-changing world, we need to figure out what we're losing and how we can um, what we should protect in our future generations as well as the current one. So, what is most important right now, do you think?
Out of the topics of art, technology, and ambition, could you
Yeah,
just
just
elaborate on that?
in general, what is most important for the younger generation to be successful?
To recognize what they have inside of themselves, to recognize who they want to be, how they can achieve this, and how they can still maintain their qualities, being creative, creating art, right? And not having an overdependence on things like AI, not allowing themselves to succumb to social media, to forms of non-novel stimulation, right? To truly build character, build depth, do things the hard way, put in the effort,
Yes.
grow as a human being, not as a product of the things around you.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Great answer. And yeah, to really just find out what you are interested in, right? And that just comes with getting off your phones, right? That's the technology piece. Being able to admire great products, right? Or being able to admire creativity. That's the art piece. And being ambitious enough to, once you find out what you want to do, really strive to achieve that, right? I feel like those are the three things: creativity, ambition, drive, and what else? Finding out what you're interested in. Four things, I guess. Those are the four things that we should really be working towards, the younger generation as well as the future generations, as technology becomes a bigger and bigger part of our lives.
And another thing is that tech doesn't really give a moment, it doesn't give a break, right? You can't sit in silence and be alone with your own thoughts because how are you going to find out who you are, what you want to do, who your true character is when that noise is constantly being filled by some music, through scrolling, through just pointless noise that doesn't contribute to anything. How are you going to find out who you were meant to be through all of that, right? So I think trying to find who you are and staying true to those ideals, those beliefs, that's one of the most important things you can do as a young person.
Yeah, and there really is no formula that I can give you right now that's going to help you find out what you like to do, right? It really does come with authentic experiences. The more times you go out there and just try, even if it doesn't work out, you'll eventually come out with what you like to do, right? And that is what is most important. There is no magic formula, right? The easiest part, or not the easiest part, the most difficult part for sure is also finding that balance in your life, right? You want to be ambitious for sure, but sometimes you might also want to go and spend time with your friends, right? Time is something that's limited, and we all need to figure out how to live our lives to the fullest while we're on this earth.
I think that sums a lot of stuff up greatly, Victor, because what is life without balance, right? You can go to the gym 5 or 6 times a week, but what is the healthy part of that without your cheat days, without your rest days, without the days of going out with your family and eating out, right? So, how can you fully feel content and harness your ambition without those moments of sort of looking back and realizing, wow, I've came so far. Why not keep on going?
Mm, yeah. So that balance aspect is definitely really important, but it's also the most difficult for anybody, right? So I think that pretty much sums up our discussion. Uh, Thank you so much for watching, and me and Sid will see you in our next videos. Thank
I'll
you.
catch you guys later.